Welcome back, and now for part 2 of our interview with the fabulous Susanna Puisto, costume designer of the first season of Buffy. So how did you come up with Darla's Catholic school uniform?
I think I decided it really early, like I had decided when I came to the interview because I put it in my hair sheets. I don't know. I was looking through the magazine. I saw like, oh, Catholic schoolgirl, yeah, because it's always like I always wondered like all these Catholic schoolgirls, why is the skirt so short? It's kind of like worry about it. I'm from Finland. We don't have Catholic schoolgirls. There are no Catholics in Finland, maybe one. And so, it was I was finding it so interesting. Like when I lived in different countries in Europe, and I was like, eh, especially here, it's like they're so short, you can see the panties. And I thought, and it's the other thing is that the Catholic schoolgirl turns so easily into a punk rocker with the whole other side. And I always like the duality. What is the other side of the coin? Like, it's like, oh, I'm such a cute little Catholic girl, but like, oh, at night. Oh. You know? And so that was really the inspiration. And it was just, it's all you would have to do really is like unbutton a little bit. So you didn't have to like have complete transformation. You could use the same outfit. You just kind of like, you wear it different. You post it. Oh, and it works.
Buffy's prom dress is such an iconic look. How did you arrive at that?
It was a custom piece made in multiples at the 20th Century Fox tailor shop. So it was couture. So it was a four-way stretch silk from ISW, beautiful rhinestones.
You said that they were authentic rhinestones, right?
It was not a cheap dress to make because I have a tendency to go for the really good fabrics. They were always joking at ISW, which is International Wool, Silks and Woolens.
Oh, yeah, on Beverly Boulevard.
Yeah, that's what I would go. That was so that's where I got the stretch, beautiful silk satin, for the top part. And then it was silk chiffon for the layers. They were a string of rhinestones. And we made several. And then the shoes I got at Barney's, New York, they were Mary Jane's because it's, for stunts and stuff. And I'd have to say the jacket, I think it was an afterthought because of the stunts. So you have the cover.
Pads, right?
Pads. A jacket was not even leather. It was pleather. But I think I had multiples because it was new, so I could get more than one. I couldn't put one of the cool vintage ones because I just couldn't. Because you would have to wear the whole of it. That was just a lot. So I did it, and it's just one of those things. And I do love mixing something delicate with something rough. I love that. I personally always would do that. You know what I mean? I like, if you, with little lace and lace, it's cool. But it was a happy accident. I had no idea it would become such a huge deal. That outfit was actually made into a Halloween costume and a doll, which I don't have either. I didn't even know they existed because I'm work for hire, so they own my designs. And it wasn't until a costumer who was a huge fan of my work came to me at Universal and had me autograph the Halloween costume unopened.
Oh, that's wild. That's how you found out that it existed?
So they were no more by then. So I never got one.
Did the shoes have straps for stunts?
Yeah, I would choose because, I was flying around as, and I would try on the shoe too. And they also want to be comfortable. I mean, personally, I cannot stand wearing shoes that hurt. It is like the worst thing I could imagine. You know what I mean? Like, it's very, to me, happy feet. When we're on our feet all day, I'm doing stuff. I want people to feel comfortable. You want to look cool, but you also want to be comfortable. It's a fine line there.
The chiffon moved so beautifully too.
I was actually trying to remember her name, the woman who sewed them. She was I think the head seamstress cutter fitter at the 20th Century Fox. And, those people are a real artist. People often ask me if I sew. I'm like, no. That I leave it to the professionals.
Well, you have the vision and then you work with your team to execute it.
That's right. And these people, like the people I work with in the studios, tailor shops and the seamstresses, kind of fitters. They are such geniuses. I always say they can copy Chanel better than Chanel. So I'm not afraid to ask for help because I don't know everything. And I've always believed you should ask people's opinions because you might learn something. Just because I ask people often, like, what do you think? Doesn't mean I don't have an idea of how to do it myself. I ask because what if they have an idea I never thought of?
Yeah. It's a
And
collaborative. What we do is collaborative.
And 95% or 97%, I'm still going to do what I wanted to do in the first place. There's every now and then somebody comes with something so genius and brilliant.
Mhm.
Oh my God, I never thought of that.
Yeah.
How did you? Thank you. I would not think I have all the ideas. I don't.
Tell me about Giles's look.
Well, he was the watcher and the librarian. And the actor being English. And even before that, I didn't know who he was. I always saw him as British. I always saw him that kind of like a tweedy guy, professorial, but with an edge. That jacket, the first one he wore, actually, it was a designer jacket. It was very expensive. And I loved it. I would turn the colors. I wanted him a little rumble, not so put together. All by vintage, mostly 1960s, because they fantastic colors, the greens and it's just like they had a really good, good color scheme in those days for the color palette. The ties were vintage as well, all of them. I never bought him anything. The pants, I think, some were vintage, like from Fox, could have been custom made, for another show or something. Turn up the cuff, and a little rumbled. But again, there was a little bit of that kind of like cool, debonair English. They're still hipsters. They could wear tweed and be hip. It's that fine line. He wasn't gonna be like just like some tweed wearing grandpa. No, he was the cool dude who can. He was very much English influenced by England, and I had lived in England before, and I was always very close ties there. Been there many many times, and then his world was that library, so the colors were of course there. The first jacket was the main one. Then I could never find another one like it. And we didn't have computers, so it's not like now you can search for something and find it. So I would find other things that were vintage. But now, if I could redo him, I would have maybe gotten those vintage jackets and had them reline them.
To me, he always looked, yes, it had that tweedy look to him, but also because he'd roll up the sleeves or that he was in the midst of working. He was in the midst of finding the information that he needed to. So he always looked like he was active, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, he was. I remember running into him years later in a restaurant in Beverly Hills. He saw me and I saw him, and I like, hi. He goes, oh my God, Susanna! It was really amazing. He goes, I miss you. And I thought, He goes, and then he introduced me to his wife, or anyway, and said, this is Susanna. She was our first designer. She's amazing. I just thought it was so wonderful because he had been like, this was probably like 2005, so it had already been a while.
Wow.
But he recognized me right away.
Of course. So what about Xander?
So Xander, he's also based on a real person.
And is it Joss?
No, I don't think so.
Because I know Joss says that there's a lot of him in Xander.
I think might be a combination. I could be a combination of.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. I think so because he's kind of there as representation of him. Well, Xander, I think I never saw him as like so hip and cool and so put together. I think it was just kind of like he was somebody I think he would wear what was clean on the floor. I was a little bit more that type of guy. A lot of his clothes, the pants and shirts were, I think, skater brands, like Young California's skate brands, vintage, kind of thrown together. But there was always the kind of part of him he didn't really like think about what he was gonna wear. He just happened to have these pieces and they all kind of like work together like Geronimo's, but not really. But I always thought he was that guy who had like roommates and like instead of having a closet, there was like a pile on the floor and he just like, you know what I mean? when I saw his character, because that's what I meant with my thing. It doesn't, not everything is beauty and perfection. There is beauty and imperfection. I think there's something for all kinds of people to find themselves in this cast of characters.
Yes.
The little more, the guy whose closet is a pile on the floor.
Well, it's also, you can tell so much about the progression of a character with the way that the wardrobe changes. If you're playing a character that gets more and more put together, or you're playing a character who's falling apart, the wardrobe reflects that. It's a big component of showing all of those things.
Honestly, we didn't know what's going to happen with the show. It was the first season. And when it finally aired, and it blew up. And it just blew up. And then it was crazy.
If you had to pick a particular memory to share, what would it be? Or what is one of your fond memories from that time on set?
But this was the olden days. And to view dailies, we would watch them in-house.
Mm-hmm.
We were off the lot. We were not at 20th Century Fox lot. We were at the Bergamo station where we had our stages and the offices. Mine was downstairs. And then upstairs were where the ADs and the producers and Josh and everybody's offices were. And then there was a room with a TV and a VHS where department heads could go watch the dailies and see what we had done. And just kind of, it helps us kind of like correct ourselves, see what we've been shooting. And I think for me, watching the dailies and seeing how it worked on screen, because this is the first time I was ever allowed to dailies. I've never seen dailies. So it was my first time. I felt very much part of the team and part of the filmmaking just to see it. And I think watching dailies, I learned a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to kind of like better myself. Like, so when I would put outfits together, it helped me.
I had a similar experience. James and I would go and watch dailies. We would wait till the end of each episode, and then we would watch them there at production. And it was so invaluable because you would see what you wanted to adjust slightly, what you wanted to bring out more. You can learn so much from watching dailies.
The other thing was seeing the effect of my work. For instance, when Sarah Michelle Gellar when I first met her, she had just come off of All Their Children, I guess.
All My
And-
Children, yeah.
Right. I remember, I think she had a scrunchie in her hair and she wore Skechers shoes. So she looked kind of like a mall girl. I'm like, that's going to change.
You're like, "Wah, now she's in my hands."
But it was just, I mean, it was a very easy transition. There was no, because, it wasn't like, I mean, she had the body and she had, and it was cute clothes. So I was just like, I just took her and I just moved her into my clothes.
Uh-huh.
Instead of Skechers sneakers, she now had these Costume National boots. It's full vintage, dresses. Like, it was she was so easy to dress. I mean, she knows how to wear clothes. She has a beautiful body. It was very easy. I mean, it was a dream. I mean, with all of them, it was just easy. They were young, and then of course, see them transform and see how, she was so young when we started, and then kind of see her grow up and how her style was evolving, her personal style. That was fun to see. And the other thing I wanted to say is that, of course, I wasn't in their age group, but I was much younger. So this was kind of like my world still. And as I have grown and matured, so have my actresses. So it's been kind of interesting to see how it evolves for all of us.
What was your life like at that time?
I lived in Silver Lake, so I was the OG Silver Lake hipster. I'd lived there since 1990. When you get an apartment for $500 with a view of the Hollywood sign, and one of those beautiful buildings built for starlets with a courtyard, that world. I was part of that world. I'm telling you, driving to work was a pain. It was,
Yeah, and you went clear. You'd have to go all the way to Santa
the
Monica.
commute was hell, sheer hell. So my life was a lot. We would start our week would start very early on a Monday morning. I don't remember what the first call time, maybe for the trailer person, could have been 3:30 in the morning. And as the week progresses, we move
Toward nights. Yeah.
weekend nights, and then Fridays are Frater days, which means we work through Saturday and the Saturday morning. So then you sleep all Saturday, and then Sunday you have to go to bed early because you have another call. And I would not, of course, take that call that early, but I would still, want to be there relatively early. So if I had to be at work at 6 a.m., I'm up at 4.
Right. That's
Uh,
why everybody called it Buffy the Weekend Slayer.
I mean, I didn't think about it when I signed up, but when you do a vampire show, that means a lot of night. And because I have to work daytime hours, because that's when I prep, when the stores
Yeah. It's when you have to buy everything.
So Custom House is open at 7 o'clock a.m. and the stores open generally at 10 o'clock. And then the mall closes at 10. And many a night I did close down the mall looking for a build. I worked a lot. I didn't do much else. I think I did on weekends. I had a boyfriend, I think. I did. I did have a boyfriend, but we didn't see each other that much. I worked mostly a lot. So only night I could do something was Saturday. I could go out. I was very dedicated. I had to be on call pretty much. We still had pagers at the time. So we had all these codes, and I would get a lot of codes, 911 emergency. So when I called back, my heart was always pounding. When the phone rings and I see production of his number, my heart jumps to this day. I also never have a ringer on because the ringtones give me PTSD. But it was always a problem. It's always putting out the fire, and I'm not even there. I could be in the middle of the 405 stuck in traffic, or I'm in the middle of the Beverly Center. I don't know. I'm somewhere, but I'm never in a place where you can be calm about it. But you have to, and you have to deal with the situation, whatever it is. Because I'm the head of department, the buck stops with me, and it's not my style to throw people under the bus. So I got to figure it out. And that's, a huge part of my job is putting out fires and dealing with a lot of people and personalities, which is cool in a way, you know what I mean? Because people think we just like sketch and say, we sit in the no, we run around.
You're running a whole department.
And we run around, like literally, like I was like less than 100 pounds on that show. I think at one point I was 96 pounds. Yeah, it's not like we stopped for lunch. So it's a very, so no, my life was Buffy. That was my life.
Do you have any journals and notes? I know you've been sending me photos and Polaroids. I absolutely love Polaroids. Do you also have notes and journals and anything of that nature?
I believe I do in my garage.
Ooh.
I have journals. I would have to dig up. I think I have journals. I used to keep journal all the time. I kept journals since I was a little girl. And that was kind of my therapy. So I probably have a lot of stuff, but I don't know if it's something for the public.
Maybe you could share them with me.
Yes, I can look. I think they're dated. I'm pretty organized. You know what one of my biggest regrets is, I was just realizing, is that, we used to take a lot of either photographs and developed, or we take Polaroids. And over the years, I mean, I have been kind of organized, like they were in like Ziploc bags or something, it shows. But then it was like hundreds and hundreds, and I'm like, I don't need these. So I got tossed them.
Oh, you tossed them? Really?
I mean, to literally, like, when Kieran Culkin won his Academy Award, I'm like, I worked with him on a movie that was never made, but I worked with him for 6 weeks during prep and even on location. And I had all these photos. But I was always like, I don't need all this stuff. So I have actually thrown away and deleted so much of Hollywood history because I didn't realize how valuable it would be. Because I see this other designer constantly posting, and it's called her calls on her archives. And I thought, oh, I should get them as archives. I didn't realize, and nobody advised me.
No, it's funny because Dev said to me, did you keep any of your wardrobe from Buffy? And I was offered it, and I said, no, I wore it all so many times. I don't really need the clothes. And of course, it would have been good to keep some of that stuff.
Look, I am so grateful that my work on Buffy and all these other shows is forever. Because it is there. It's forever for people to see.
Yes.
But then they come back and generate a second or third, fourth life. And that's like amazing. Still, like, I mean, but Buffy aired 30 years ago.
We are not only talking about it, but it is even more popular today than when it aired and was popular. Why do you think that is? Why do you think it has such legs with the audience?
I really think it's the writing. I think the writing was brilliant. I think the story, I think the character of Buffy, she was something unlike anything I've ever seen. When I realized it, she jumped that page. I'm like, oh my God, I've never seen it. It was a role model, a new kind of role model. There was a role model like where you don't have to be meek, you don't have to be conventional. You can be all these things. It was very important to me because personally, I kind of lived a little bit like that. So I understood. I just loved that she had so much depth to her, so many different layers. I think that struck a chord with women because they all believed that growing up with that show and with her was so instrumental to their development. As I think they found freedom. When I tell people, like when I say like, oh, what do you do for living? Like, oh, costume designer. Oh, have you done anything I may have seen? And when I always bring up Buffy because it's like easy, and people go, oh my God. It's always that reaction, and then they're like, what else? What else? Then I just name something else. But that just seems to like always resonate so well, and that reaction is incredibly. Uh, I'm so proud. I'm so proud to have been part of this incredible multi-generational movement, I guess so. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah. It's part of your legacy.
it's incredible, but it's funny because I mean, I got a pretty good nose for good scripts, and that was definitely one I knew.
The central metaphor of Buffy is high school as hell. Can you relate to that at all from your own personal life?
Yes, very much. Buffy was somebody who came to a new school. She was the new girl in town. I myself went to many, many, many schools. My family would move to a different area and within the city, and each time it was a different school district, so I had to go to a new school. So I went, one, two, let me see. I went to 7 different schools by the age of 16. I
Wow.
was always the new girl in class. Always. The one who had to get in front of class, the new girl. So I developed pretty thick skin, survival skills because kids can be cruel. My first school actually where I went from the age 5 until the age 8 was a Russian school. It was in the 60s during Cold War. Um, my parents put me there because they had this brilliant idea that because nobody wanted to learn Russian, obviously, Cold War. But I could become the ambassador because if I would speak the language. And so it was a very good school. I went to school with all the kids from all the embassies and consulates of all the Soviet bloc kids. Like my bestie in class was the daughter of the Cuban ambassador. A very fancy school. Black cars with flags flying. It was a very good school, good education, very good ballet class. I danced ballet. Because, Russian. 3rd grade, I went to Finnish school and I had a Russian accent.
Oh,
Nice. And my name is Susanna. So I pronounce my name Shoshana. And it wasn't my fault. It's just because everything was done in Russian in the school. So I spent my day speaking Russian. So that was a little bit of a thing. My sister also. We did get bullied relentlessly, commies and all that stuff. But I was pretty good at uh, dealing with bullies. And I think one of the things with me and me having been such a gypsy and going to all these different schools is that I was tailor-made for, first of all, living in different countries. I can accommodate, I can, and also for the film industry in particular.
yeah, because we are gypsies. We go from one project to the next. We travel through all different places.
It's in my blood.
Yeah.
It's very easy for me to come with a new group of people and become part of that group. And not, I guess, having been bullied and not as harshly as my sister. My younger sister, Helena, was bullied a lot.
I was
Harsh.
going to ask you about that because I remember you telling me that you stood up for her, that she had it much worse than you, and that you guys ended up talking about that fairly recently.
Yes, I think when you and I first spoke about it, and she said, she was so grateful. She said because she was bullied so relentlessly, and she wasn't as tough. I was, and I guess I was small, but I was spicy and fearless. I mean, I think I saw Buffy in me that I had that kind of like I'm also fiercely protective of people I love, I mean, it's like I have no fear. And even though I was, and when you're little and you're in a land of giants where the average height for a woman is 5'8", I'm 5'4", and everybody's like giant Vikings, playing hockey and so it's Amazon woman in Scandinavia, and then there's little me. So you learn to move fast to get out of the way, you know. But it's just like I don't know. It was like it was a good education. Yeah, I don't remember myself being so damaged by the bullying. I think I handled it. I think I just fought back, and actually, I ended up always becoming very popular. I was kind of popular at school. Even and sometimes when I get bullied, it's because there was a lot of jealousy.
Mhm.
You
I
know,
think that happens a lot. I think people get bullied often either because there's fear involved or jealousy.
there was a lot of jealousy, a lot of female jealousy. Guys would like bully me and tease me, like because of the way I had always helped my dad. He was a businessman, and so I would help him in the office even from a young age. So I knew how to type since I was like 7 years old because I wanted to play little secretary for daddy. So all the other girls wanted to take typing, and I didn't need to take typing. So I ended up sort of the class schedule made it. So I ended up in the guys' cooking class because we had to take home. We had to take home ec in Finland. This was in the 70s. You still had to learn how, you know, woodwork. There was all,
Yes.
you have to learn. And we also had to learn like knitting and crocheting and sewing. We got, yeah. We learned all that. I mean, I only knitted one sock. The other one is still never. I didn't even sock.
I'd be with you. I think I'd do half a sock.
I do half a sock. And then, anyway, but in the cooking class, I remember it was me and all the guys, but I don't think they was there was one time they were mean. There was a lot of putting salt and sweet things and sugar and salty
Oh,
um
yeah.
in things. But one time what they did, they locked me in the utility cabinet, like the
Oh.
closet,
Yeah.
so humiliated, and they left the room. That I was afraid to scream for help because I didn't want to be found in the fucking closet. And I don't remember who found me.
Wow.
Like, was it the janitor or somebody found me there? And I was just sitting there. I didn't want to scream because I was not going to be found screaming in a broom closet. That is like I could not handle the humiliation. They thought it was hilarious.
Well, they should have been the ones humiliated, not you.
But that was like the worst of it, I think, from the guys.
I have a question for you that you're making me think of because girls can be really mean. Was the real Cordelia, did she have the trajectory that the Cordy on the show had, which she started out as a mean girl, but ended up getting softer and being nicer? It seems like that might be so because you were friends, so she must not have been super mean.
It was not mean at all. I don't
Okay.
think.
Okay.
I think there may have been other qualities from her. I think it was more maybe like her style or something. And no, she
Just
was.
being popular maybe, or
Yeah,
Mhm.
but no, she was not.
I know that you're also an avid reader. What are you reading right now? And is there a book that you would recommend to the Buffyverse that you think Buffy fans would like?
I read a lot from the library. I had the app. I have been rereading something actually, which is a book by Norman Mailer, Marilyn. I read it before because I had the pleasure and the honor of working with his son, Michael Mailer. And so I read it when he gave me the book. And then my sister came to visit from London and she read it while she was here and she just loved it. And it's funny, my sister comes to visit me from Europe and she's like reading books.
Your sister has a brilliant job too. What does she do?
Yeah, my sister Johanna, she lives in London and has lived there for decades. And she actually works at the Victoria and Albert Museum and she restores sculptures. And you can Google her. Her name is Johanna Puisto. And so she restored they had the cast courts at the Victoria and Albert Museum. So she restored David. It took years with a Q-tip. When it was revealed they called a press conference. It's very unusual. So they had all the foreign press there and taking pictures of her. So I remember one day I open the New York Times online and I see pictures of the week, and it has Obama, it has the Pope, and it has my sister.
Oh my gosh.
So my sister had made like every major newspapers around the world, whether it was The Guardian, The Telegraph, The Independent, pretty much. I mean, they went crazy with the publicity, and which they never do. But
Right.
so happens that my sister ended up everywhere. But she's restored many other sculptures there too, and it's a fabulous job.
Yeah.
Or that she worked at the St. Paul's Cathedral. She would restored the Ascension, the mosaics up on a roof. And one day, the dean said, "We have a special guest coming to visit." And next thing she said, she's up on the scaffolding way up there in the cathedral. And these guys in, security guards come in. And then shows up Prince Charles. And
Really?
she met him.
While
then
he was up there?
He came up there to meet her and to talk about her restoration of the Ascension. And he even said, like, "Oh, so you're from Finland?" "Yes," said my sister. But, "Oh, I heard you just come back from, like, Vietnam." And she says, like, "No, Thailand." And then he cracked some jokes about Finland, and it was just, my sister was like, "This is surreal. I'm just wearing my." She had her hair in a pigtail. She was wearing
Coveralls kind of thing, or?
yes,
Yeah.
yes. I'm wondering, Right. So when people are like, "Oh, you must have met all these incredible people," I'm like, "Yeah, but my sister, she wins." Right.
Oh my gosh, that is awesome. What are some of the episodes you are most proud of?
Well, I'm gonna have to say welcome to the Hellmouth because it is the first episode. It introduces this whole world. Uh, I'm extremely proud of it. I also wanted to say the cheerleaders. That was my idea because cheerleading costumes, when I went to look at them in rental houses, they were all bulky and so I actually bought those tight shirts and had them.
Oh,
uh,
put the letters on them?
Yes, that was me. Because again, sexy.
Because you
They
don't want baggy.
not
Baggy
little
is not gonna do it.
they
No.
did they were like sweaters. They were like bulky sweaters. I was shocked. I'm like, "No, not on my watch." The puppet show, that was a lot of work.
Yeah,
So there is that, the one, the Cordelia's dress in Out of Mind, Out of Sight. That's another custom creation by yours truly.
beautiful.
And then, of course, the Prophecy Girl because
The iconic dress in Prophecy Girl
yeah, but yeah.
with the leather jacket and
Leather.
excuse me, hold on.
Nineteen.
The iconic dress with the pleather jacket.
I know, it's funny, right? I think it makes it better. It wasn't even leather. It was plastic. It was like it's, it photographed great.
Mhm. I wanna say one last thing also in terms of the master's look. It is so terrifying, his wardrobe, and it sets off the makeup really well, and it does feel like that tailored, Nazi, scary outline that he has, and whenever you see it come on screen, it's really powerful.
I actually have to say another thing that just popped into my memories. There is a little reason probably why I went there because there was also a party where I was very much like a dominator. It's S&M. And because I had once done a job where I had to go meet a real dominator and to get some stuff from him.
Oh, a male.
Mail.
Uh-huh,
That's
uh-huh.
mail. He lived right there on Highland actually. And I had to go to his house to get some stuff. And so I came there and he's English. So if you close your eyes, you think you're talking to Prince Charles, but then you open your eyes and it's a dominator. It wasn't that scary. But anyway, the apartment was so fascinating because he had all these things. I'm like, "What's that?" Like and they're like, "Oh, that's like that, you do like hoist people up and all the art was erotic porno and everything was super tidy. And then he had this one room and I can't say this on camera. I was like, "What that machine?" He goes like, "It's the blah 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 machine because you want to try." I'm like, "No."
No, thank you.
Anyway, but then we went in the closet and I saw the closet and it was all these Nazi costumes. I think I was intrigued by that, and then he actually ended up coming on that shoot as a, and then his girlfriend who was a dominatrix. So there was two of them. Was the most fascinating day, by the way, because I asked a lot of questions. But anyway, I just thought it was interesting, that kind of like orderliness and the dominator kind of vibe, and I think I did bring.
Assimilated that.
Yes.
It's interesting that you say that because I knew a girl from the gym whose mother was a dominatrix, and she described they had a dungeon in their house that was for that. And the way she described everything in their house was what you're talking about, that it was very neat and organized within this very dark milieu.
This was his dungeon, but it was actually light filled. It was not dark.
Mm-hmm.
That was, and it's funny, it's one of those like apartment buildings on Highland, like that
happens to have a dungeon in it.
You have to like get, you had the security gate and everything, so you get in there and it's like, there you are, and it's like, but it was like modern,
Mm-hmm.
very like almost like Felix Stark kind of aesthetic. It was very, very modern.
But that's what you were saying earlier, is those contradictions that make it interesting.
Yeah, I believe that me visiting him left a big, big memory, and seeing that closet left a huge memory, because it was, I mean, we all hear about dominatrix, but what about dominator?
Mm-hmm. I love what you're talking about, Susanna, because I think we get inspiration from all kinds of places in life, and all of these kernels that we find and we see and that influence our work, and it's part of what makes it really fun, the discovery of that.
I think so, and I think what we have to keep is an open mind. And I've always been very curious. It's my thing. I'm a very curious person. I'm always observing. In fact, a lot of times I wear sunglasses not just to shield my eyes, but so people don't see my eyes, because I'm always staring.
Staring. Me too. My friend Yvonne actually.
Like, stop staring. You're
Same
staring.
thing.
Well,
My
and
friend.
I'm looking because I'm mesmerized.
Me too. I have the same thing. My friend Yvonne, whenever we're out, she's like, Juliet, you can't do that. You're just staring at people. And I'm so fascinated.
Like up and down too, like this.
Me too, because I'm fascinated. I'm looking at the behavior.
Yeah. That's not pointing. Like I have no, I have actually had a colleague tell me that I have no filter. I'm like, well, I'm not, but I do have to say this. I am also judgy, and it's just part of my job, because I had somebody tell me like that I had judgy eyes. I said, fine. I put my sunglasses on, and she said, your mouth is judgy. Hilarious. Because it was just something gone on set, and I was just like, really? She's like, oh, your mouth is judgy.
And then if you covered your mouth, your nose is judgy.
It's really funny.
Your cheeks, it's all judgy.
It's judgy, but I don't think there's anything wrong with judgy. I mean, it can be negative, but even me, like when I'm judgy, I could take that and go like, oh my God, that is like the craziest thing I've ever seen. But then next thing I'm going to use it on my movie.
Same thing. It's actually funny because right before I went in on the meeting for my character on Buffy, I saw someone and I basically incorporated some of that behavior into what I thought the character should be. And I love that.
I think so. It's fun, it's like, and sometimes some of the people, I'm so shocked when I talk to them, like, did you see this, read that? And also I'm like, I feel like I'm a hummingbird. That's the other thing I want to say, that I'm very well, I'm meant for this job, because some people are like, are you paying attention to me? And I'm like, actually, I can listen and look over there at the same time.
Right, multitask.
I'm very good at multitasking, because I'm so used to on set that I'm talking to somebody at the same time. I'm watching here. I'm watching my crew over there. I'm this, I'm that. I'm totally watching everything. I can still watch the monitor. I can check my phone at the same time.
Yep.
And I can see it. So it's not like I'm not paying attention. I had to pay attention to a lot of people. So I see my crew. I'm like, don't hang out in clusters. Scatter. And if somebody wants to go home early, because it looks like you're not doing much in a cluster, then they're like, oh, scatter. So I'm watching my crew too. I'm like, it's for your own good. Otherwise, you're gonna get, the UPM is gonna say, go home. They're not doing anything.
Susanna, this has been phenomenal. It has been so much fun talking with you. I knew we were going to have a good time, but it exceeded my expectations. I'm so excited for everyone to get to listen to this and see this. You are extraordinary. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And I love you.
Love you too.
Bye. Revamped E's, please correspond with me on Twitter at Juliet Landau or on Instagram at Juliet_Landau and on the Fans of Juliet Landau Facebook group or Juliet Landau official Facebook page. You can also join up with all our Revamped-Ds on Patreon. There are all kinds of tiers and really exciting stuff. Our Patreon peeps to be read in the credits: Dave Hall, Timothy Kendall, Danielle Harbour, Louise Brennan, and Brandon Key. It makes all the difference because we cannot keep making the show without you. Thank you. Thank you so much. And we will see you next week when we do it again. Do it again. Until next time, rewatch, revamp, reinvent, and be remarkable you.